That is something that will help Arsenal, especially on counter-attacks. Rice would push players on, such as Odegaard and Havertz. But hey, they got to push themselves, man. Doesn't have any real, I wouldn't say significant weaknesses, but I'm sure Arteta knows. I agree, DG, our fan base have overhyped way too much. And the same ones that are overhyped, I'm not talking about people that are optimistic about watching Balogun, but the same ones that are doing too much, they're going to be the first to turn on him, people, because like they've probably already did it. Oh, Balogun must get a chance in pre-season. He must get a chance. What happened when he missed them chances? They're going to be the first individuals to snake him and say, oh, why is Arteta giving him opportunities? Rice thoughts. Sorry, folks, but we might as well, with that being said, we might as well start to get into this Rice news. Sorry, I'm just making a timestamp. That's why I'll remove that quickly. Again, big up you lot. Make sure you're hitting the like button and whatnot. Again, people, this is the second highest fee paid by an English club after Enzo Fernandez, 105 million for Decky Boy. When you look at it, most expensive sales, he ranks third. He is our club record sale, as you lot know. Once again, further confirmation, Declan Rice completes transfer to Arsenal. Declan Rice has joined us from West Ham on a long-term contract. The 24-year-old midfielder has vast experience, making 245 senior appearances for the Hammers, as well as 43 caps for England. Scrolling all the way down, people, Edu has said Declan Rice is a player with fantastic ability and a proven track record at both club and international levels. The process of this transfer has been a big team effort with a clear plan. We are so happy that Declan is joining us. Declan is a high-quality young international player who will add great strength to our squad, fitting so well into our strategy of competing with young talented players at the center of our club. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. There's no one like Rice on the market when you deep it. In terms of household, yeah, but as much as I like Declan Rice, he's a destroyer primarily. You should be able to find that somewhere. Fortunately, unless we're bringing in an addition, we don't need to think about the backups. We've come a long way from only signing Petr Cech, man. Finally getting out the trenches. It's great that Declan will be joining up with Mikel, our coaches, and his new teammates in good time ahead of the new season. There you have it there. Arteta said, we're happy that Declan is joining us. He's a player with tremendous ability who has been performing at a high level in the Premier League and for England for a number of seasons now. Declan is bringing undoubted quality to the club, and he's an exceptional talent who has the potential to be very successful here. Pardon me, hopefully, Declan Rice obviously realizes that. Declan has great experience in the Premier League at only 24 years old. He has captained a very good West Ham team. As we all saw, he recently lifted a European trophy. The responsibility and role he has taken on has been very impressive, and we are really excited that he is joining us. He'll wear the number 41, people. Declan Rice himself has been speaking. This is the first part of his interview. And Declan Rice has been on the scene for a while. He's going to speak well in it. On joining Arsenal, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the fans for the support so far. It's been overwhelming. There's been a lot going on, a lot of speculation for months. But obviously, as a player, you want to get things dealt with as quickly as possible so you're settled. Today, I've had my first day and I'm really at home. It's been a bit overwhelming because of my relationship with West Ham, with the love and support I have for them. It's been really hard to walk away. In football, amazing opportunities arrive. Big clubs like Arsenal have come for me, and it's really hard to turn down. You only get one career, and I really believe in what Arteta is building here and the squad he is building. I'm really looking forward to the future with Arsenal. I've been looking at Arsenal over the last couple of seasons and the trajectory they've been going on. Not last season, but the season before. They finished fifth, but you could see the style of play Mikel was implementing. Last season was an outstanding season, blowing pretty much every team out of the water, with the exception of Man City. Smash the like button if you're on YouTube. Keep your thoughts coming. With Mikel and how he works, the squad, how young everyone is, including the manager, actually, the energy around the club, and also the challenge of getting Arsenal back to where they belong, that means a lot to me. I know the fans really want that. For me as a player, I've come here really hungry to have more success and to spend my best years at the club. And it's just dawned on me, we've come a long way, man. We've come a long way. I remember debating is Holding and Marie our best centre-half pairing, seeing Mkhitaryan and Ozil play as wingers, having Lichtsteiner and them guys there. Finally getting somewhere as a club, man. Shout out to you lot. But moving forward, on Arteta, he said, I'm so excited. He speaks for himself. You see how he works. You got a real insight into how he works on the Amazon documentary, how he works with his players, not only as a coach, but psychologically, how good he is with players, how he improves players. He's a massive factor in why I've come here. I know he's going to get the best out of me. I know I've got more levels to go up in my game. I feel like he's the manager to take me to those levels. I'm really excited to be working with him. Amen. On the view from Arsenal from the outside, I think even growing up, the history of Arsenal, you always hear about the Invincibles, the famous game at Anfield. You see things all the time. I've always known Arsenal as a big club, but when I've been on holiday and had people come up to me in London, you don't realize how big Arsenal is, but now I do. Playing against them has always been tough with the Arsene Wenger way of playing, nice football, tick-a-tacker stuff. Coming to the Emirates has always been really hard. Slightly capping with that. It's not always been hard, but I like the fact that you care about us fans enough to lie to us. Home games when I played for West Ham have always been the games you've been up for because it's been a London rivalry. Well, we've got a lot of London rivalries. We've got to play West Ham. We've got to play Chelsea. We've got to play a lot of teams. You could even throw in Man United, to the Man United fans who don't live in Manchester, the Peckham Reds and whatnot. So there's a lot of London derbies for you, fella. One thing about Arsenal is the fans are so passionate. They're not scared to voice their opinion, and rightly so, because this is a massive club. They demand, and for us players, we should factor that demand of each other in to push and be successful again. Those are the main things. On playing with his England colleagues, yes, it's going to be an honor. There are some unbelievable players I've played with at international level. Now I get to share those same duties at club level. All of them have spoken so highly about the club, how each and every one of them have improved under the manager. When you hear things like that, you really take it in your stride and listen. You've got players like Sachs, who's now one of the best wingers in the world. Then there's Ramos, who's one of the best keepers. You've got Whitey at right back, who was unreal last year. There's Smith-Rowe and so many in the squad. They all speak so glowingly of the club and the direction it's going in the last few years. So it's really exciting. On Eddie Nketiah, I played with Eddie from under 9s to under 14s. We were both released on the same day. It's crazy where football takes you, your journey. He made it through the ranks at Arsenal. I made it through the ranks at West Ham. Now we get to link back up again. I've always loved Eddie, even though we had a little altercation on the pitch before. I've always loved him and been very close to his family. And I love that, that's meant to be your guy. And you was ready to chop off his head. So make sure when you play West Ham and anything else, we do this. His dad is a top guy. He used to come on all the tours with us as kids. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Eddie again. And of course, the other boys. On first impressions, it's beautiful. It's an amazing training ground. You see it in pictures and see people talk about it. You walk around and see history on the wall with Arsenal. It just makes you hungry to push to demand more of yourself. What I like about the place is you can already feel that you can't be comfortable here. You have to push yourself to the max. Speaking to sports science guys and the physios and the demands they have as well, it's all about winning and all about mentality, which is what I love. Ongoing on tour in America, it's another great chance to see a fan base in America. I remember when Jack Wilshere was with us at West Ham, we went to China and he had his own fan base who were all Arsenal fans. It was crazy. So we're all around the world, and it's a great chance for us to travel and to spend some time with them as well, and also perform in front of them. We've got 3 fixtures in 3 great stadiums, so embrace it. Preseason comes around once, so it's time to enjoy, get fit, and start winning games. Finally, his message to supporters. I just want to say it's an absolute privilege to be part of Arsenal Football Club. The history and the players they have played here speak for themselves. And now I have joined. We've got some other signings as well. We are looking to get Arsenal back to the big time, back to winning stuff. You've seen over the past few years how well this squad has been with the manager. There's a real feel-good factor around the place. So I'm hungry, I'm ready, and I'm going to give everything for this club like I do week in, week out. We are going to be on some journey, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't think you can begrudge him for that. I'm going to see Arsenal versus Man United in America. Big up you. He's very aware, man. I mean, he was a club captain previously. It could have been a horror movie, really. Rice and Ramsdale are going to be the 2 biggest S-houseries they are. Don't forget Benjamin White. Timber's signing is underrated. DG, do Arsenal have to win the league next season for you? I wouldn't say have to, but I'd like to challenge and go one better. Really, there'll come a time where I demand the league. I don't think it's necessarily now. It's a crucial year, probably for Smith-Rowe and Tomiyasu. Nobody hates Eddie. He just isn't good enough. I don't personally think he's lethal enough. Eddie's got serious talent. England under 21's all-time top goal scorer. To be fair, we've seen that. Is Rice automatically the best or top 3 midfielders we've had in the Emirates era? No, not just yet. Really, I've seen Mesut Ozil, Cesc Fabregas, Nasri, seen a few, but he could be there one day. Really, in terms of a turning point of the club during the Emirates era, he's probably up there with the Alexises and the Ozils and people of that ilk. Come a long way since Baku. We need to actually win a European trophy to really claim that. As you can see, don't flop me. Oh, clicking the wrong things. You can see him in the images. Big up Rice 41, DC 41. The new pack has landed. And he's linked up with Timber. Come on. It's lit. It's lit. It's lit. Well in, Declan. Well in. You lot can read 13 things you might not know about Declan Rice. He actually scored his first goal against us, really. That's great for him, man. But yeah, I'll leave you lot to read that. Allegedly, he's joined for a club record 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons. He becomes the most expensive English player in the history of the game. Apparently, he signed until June 2028, crucially with a further year to extend his deal, people. Sky Caval has apparently said, this is what West Ham are getting from Arsenal for Declan Rice. 100 million paid over 24 months, plus possibly 5 millions of add-ons, which are 1 million every time Arsenal qualify for the Champions League. And Declan Rice starts 60% of games, capped at 5 times 1 million equals 5 mil. So that's with them getting their bread. Some of you mentioned this article in The Athletic. This time it was all or nothing for Arsenal. No plan B, no capacity for frugal switches to alternative targets, and therefore no room for error. I somewhat disagree. It was Declan Rice or bust. The West Ham captain was everything to Mikel Arteta this summer. Those inside the club had repeated for months that it could not be overstated how central he was to the manager's vision. So let's hope it bangs. Without him, Arteta's plan to take Arsenal's team to the next level simply did not add up. Every other transfer target was I can't say that, but linked to Rice as the centerpiece, the nucleus that would make everything else make sense. Apparently, although patience was required in the final weeks of negotiations, after 2 rejected bids preceded Man City muscling in at the 11th hour, Arsenal eventually got their man, and the deal with West Ham was finally signed at 5 p.m. on Friday, with Rice signing a 5-year contract with the option to extend over a further year. Once again, we already know he's signing for 100 million plus a further 5 million in potential add-ons, people. So we have to see how that goes. And he also breaks records. They believe they've brought a talent who is incomparable in his position. And if he is as transformative as they believe, he can be similar to how marquee additions of Alisson and Van Dijk and Van Dijk elevated Jurgen Klopp's squad. That's cool. Arsenal had long identified Rice as a crucial missing piece of the jigsaw, but their pursuit really began earliest in January. Having consulted Arsenal's England contingent of Saka and Ramsdale for insight into his personality and leadership qualities, it only strengthened Arteta's desire to make sure Rice would soon be playing his football in Islington, 6 miles west of West Ham's Olympic Stadium. He wanted to make that happen in January after they made him their top target for the window. Arsenal seriously investigated a possible deal that month, but it became apparent that was never likely to happen, both financially and because West Ham's lower league position made Rice even more indispensable. As we know, the manager and the chairman would not want to lose him in the middle of a relegation race. We all know we tried to sign Caicedo in January. It didn't bang. Obviously we saw the social media antics. We know ultimately Brighton stood firm and offered him a new contract under the mutual understanding that a summer move somewhere potentially to Arsenal was all but inevitable. Arsenal pivoted again, this time to a different type of deep midfielder. While Rice and Caicedo are known for their power and all-round attributes, we obviously signed Jorginho. It was a short-term option as Arteta believed he required something extra in midfield if they were to have the depth to last the pace of the title race, which ultimately we failed. So yeah, it is what it is. Apparently, The Athletic can reveal there was face-to-face meetings between Arteta, Edu, and Rice that convinced the midfielder just how intent they were on acquiring his signature. As it is now customary in all deals, Arteta and Edu made detailed presentations to Rice explaining the project, the role he had to play, and the footage of him which had convinced them he was the man they needed. They ended their overture by putting the ball in Rice's court. The train was leaving. Was he on board? Rice's reps met with several big clubs, but no one was in the same arena as Arsenal when it came to the detail and personalization of the pitch. The midfielder came out so high on so many aspects of Arsenal's recruitment grading system that Arteta almost had a book full of reports on him. Bit of propaganda here. It's why he was so passionate about the signing that came across to Rice when explaining what his role would entail in the six. Arsenal were confident coming into the window. They had established a good working rapport with their West Ham counterparts. Last summer, West Ham had sent legal letters to clubs warning them against approaches and threatened action if they had proof of tapping up. But this summer, there was an acceptance. It was time for him to move on to the top level. Personal terms were understood to not be a problem, largely thanks to the huge amount of groundwork Edu and Director of Football Operations Richard Garlick did on the players' side and his family. Rice's affairs are looked after by his father and brother. Okay, there was no desire at Arsenal to waste anyone's time, and Arteta was also firm in his desire to strengthen the squad before we headed to America. Again, we waited until West Ham's season finished, with obviously them winning the trophy. We all know the first bid was rejected. We all know dialogue continued. We all know Tim Lewis is evidently going to be heavily involved in club to club discussions over the fee and payment structures and act as a goal between Arsenal's owners when seeking to push up to the next bid. However, Edu and Garlick led the process at Arsenal's end. Fair enough. We took time to weigh up what number we should follow up with. But to be fair, the strategy worked. It appeared to be a one-horse race, but apparently Man United were credited with an interest in him last summer, but they obviously signed Casemiro and failed to bring in Frankie de Jong. This summer, they tried, but they wanted to offer make weights in McTominay, Maguire, and Elanga. They weren't on it. Liverpool chose to step away from this. Bayern Munich did try, but that didn't work out. And obviously, City, once it became clear that it weren't going to work, they let it go. Apparently, Pep Guardiola's side had so brutally ended Arsenal's title bid in April and in May had tried to gazump their London rivals. To compound matters, Arsenal was so far down the road with Rice's plans, there was no option to reverse. The £65 million deal for Kai Havertz was all but complete, but the entire tactical remodeling of midfield has been predicated on the German playing alongside Rice. Havertz has been earmarked to replace Granit Xhaka in the left 8, but he has played most of his football at Leverkusen and Chelsea as a number 10 or in the withdrawn striker role. Okay, fair enough. This article also said Arsenal had burned some bridges with Brighton's hierarchy in January with our persistence, and there was a feeling Chelsea had done so much groundwork ahead of this window that he was virtually wrapped up in blue. Yet Arsenal checked in with Caicedo's camp when progress appeared to slow with West Ham over a free. That in itself tells you how nervous Arsenal became over those 2 days, as they deemed the two players to be in a league of their own when it came to the type of midfielder they were looking for. Any other alternatives would have represented a significant drop from elite level required for their return to the Champions League. When City entered the race, Arsenal were dismayed. In their eyes, the player had signalled the Emirates was his desired destination for some time. Would his head be turned? Probably. You'd be an idiot not to concern going over there, but fair enough. It probably did give us food for thought. Apparently, Arsenal's decision-making process is more bureaucratic than others, as we all know it's a collaborative thing. I'm trying to skip out the waffle, really, because there's a lot of unnecessary stuff here. We all know of the first package both Arsenal and City proposed. If City were looking for encouragement to match Arsenal and tempt Rice, they didn't receive it, so they pulled out of the race. Arsenal, as we know, were forced to go higher. It worked with our third and final bid. Fair enough. And we all know Rice has leadership qualities as shown there. Apparently, Rice did not want to be part of relegation, even if they would have made his exit easier. He is someone who would have stayed at the club for the rest of his career. Okay, that's good. So yeah, that's a lot of jargon, really. But there we have it. And as you know, he's been signed, and West Ham are quite sour. They didn't even name that he's going to Arsenal in their document when they announced that he was leaving, really. And they get saying no one's bigger than the club. We know it, mate. Give it a rest. I'm sorry to see Declan leave, said David Sullivan, the chairman. I would like to make it clear to our supporters that we did not want to sell Declan. We wanted to build our team around him and made a series of improved long-term contract offers to secure his future. However, once Declan made it clear that he wished to move on and seek a new challenge, the club felt it would not be right to stand in his way. And we heard that in the aftermath of the Conference League. Obviously, Declan Rice is an Arsenal player. He said goodbye to West Ham and done all of that Instagram stuff. Again, they've issued a club statement. They were quite sour, really sour. Get over it. You'll be all right. Declan Rice also provided a personal message for West Ham fans. Big him up with that. Unrelated, but Fabrizio Romano has said, I'm told Balogun's future at Arsenal will be decided once the market develops a little bit more. There are many clubs interested, from Marseille to some top Italian clubs. The fee is going to be 45 to 50 million, but at this stage, nothing is happening. Arsenal apparently have the option of potentially going for Caicedo, people, but it seems like that's a myth, so I won't reread that. For what it's worth, Liverpool, who have been linked with going for Caicedo, Romano has said they're not negotiating, and it looks like Chelsea are the front runners, although they are intent on bringing Lavia to the club. And as we know, we've signed Timber, where obviously Declan Rice is going to overshadow him a bit, but big up the Dutch international who has sealed a £38 million deal. Tierney is still linked with a return to Celtic. This article said he actually wants a return to Celtic. They're going to have to front up the cash, really. Apparently, we're continuing an interest in Caicedo, as said, but in my opinion, as I said at the start of the summer, he's a Chelsea player. Charles Watts has now offered an update on Rob Holding's future, allegedly. Holding can definitely go this summer, 100%. Arsenal are open to letting Holding leave this summer, but someone's going to have to pay a hell of a lot more than the 2 million to get that done. It's just nowhere near the valuation that Arsenal would expect for a player of his quality, of his age, and of his Premier League experience. So we'll have to see, really and truly. I mean, getting less than Marie's a myth. We've been linked with Xavi Simons once again. Whether that is something that happens, I don't know. He's been relinked with Paris Saint-Germain, but it would be a good addition. I mean, big up Xhaka, but nobody really cares about that. According to 90 Minutes, Graham Bailey, Arsenal and Liverpool are among the clubs to have held talks with the agent of Andre Trindade about a move to the Premier League. The 21-year-old has risen through the youth ranks at Fluminese's first team, making 141 appearances in all comps with 3 goals and 3 assists. You lot would have to update me on the player. No clue where he plays, people. But I assume in the middle of the park because he could be a Henderson replacement. This article said. Apparently, no Liverpool player has averaged more tackles per game in the league this season than the Brazilian international. While only Matip has averaged more interceptions. So it seems like a tenacious approach. Arsenal or Liverpool would have to pay 25 million. He's also been linked with West Ham, Barcelona, Fulham, Atletico, and Spurs. People, we've been linked with João Felix again. Apparently, João Felix was advised to join Arsenal, not Chelsea, in January, but ignored his advisors to make the move to Stamford Bridge. Fair enough if that's what you wanted to do. He does not have a long line of suitors waiting for him, though, after something of a miserable spell at Chelsea. Some reports say the only offer João Felix has at this moment in time is from Aston Villa. Indeed, this article states he was told to join the Gunners ahead of the Blues by his entourage, who believed that the move to the Emirates would be wiser, as Mikel Arteta's style of play was a better fit for the Portuguese. However, he rejected their advance and moved to Chelsea, which didn't work out as they sank down the table and he didn't get the chance to show his worth. Indeed, his spell with the Blues only helped to devalue him and put suitors off, with long-term admirers such as Barcelona turning away. The feeling is that perhaps if he joined Arsenal as he was advised, things would have been different, but he didn't, and now he's suffering the consequences of that choice. I mean, he's still young enough to turn his career around, but with that seems to be everything. And you know what? At least next week, it'll probably be a calming sort of period, in my opinion, with players Arsenal are linked with. But at least we can start to get linked with new names, man. Lord knows how many videos I had titled Declan Rice, Timber, Havertz. Lord knows how many thumbnails they're part of. But big up you lot. They got 100 million West Ham. They have nothing to complain about. Obviously, replacing Declan Rice is going to cost a lot, but he's come through your academy via Chelsea, won a trophy, and been sold for a record fee. I have to say, as an American, I love Matt Turner. His shot stopping is really good. He reminds me of a slightly worse Ramsdale. It's clear that Arteta feels that Rice is exactly the type of player we need to attack the Champions League. I'll buy all the kits. You need to do that. The interview was legendary. It seems like Arteta is thinking they can play together, as they should. Why are fans acting like Rice is better than Partey? I don't get it. We always overinflate players. They're lit, man. DG, do you plan to go to the first Champions League whole game? I'm very doubtful I'm going to even be able to get tickets for such. But would love to. Why not, man? You've done a lot of them, but you always thorough and never sugarcoat anything. I appreciate that, man. What a nice comment to have, man. 88 likes. Can we get to 100? Let your thoughts filter through, people. So, yeah, we've now found out the actual breakdown of the deal, when West Ham will be paid what, how the bonuses work out. And now, you know, Declan Rice has offered his interview, which, you know, it's time to get Arsenal back to the big time and all of that. Now we probably have to focus on outgoings. You'd imagine there'll be a bit more aggressive links with Balogun leaving, Trusty leaving, and so on and so forth, really. Now some difficult decisions probably have to be made. Again, I'm trying to see Arsenal transfer news. You do well really to find news that isn't Declan Rice. He's papered all over the first 5 pages of Google. Shout yourself. This reminds me of Ashley Cole to Chelsea. Don't remind me of that. That broke my heart. He was my favorite, well, one of my favorite players in an Arsenal shirt, and he still is one of my favorite players to have ever played for Arsenal. I can't begrudge him, if I'm honest with you, because moving to Chelsea saw you win the Champions League, and that is what it is. Shout out to ex-West Ham United employee for providing updates on the Rice deal. Unfortunately, some of our fans abused them. I know football is tribal, but show some class. As MB has said, can we get to 100 likes? Do you know what? Ain't that the guy? You know what? No one deserves abuse, and big up to him for providing updates. But, you know, if you're going to egg fans on, I'm not talking about the abuse, you know, you can't egg fans on and talk nonsense on social media, then cry wolf, which you do see some of the tweets filtered onto your timeline. But shout out to him for doing that nonetheless, really and truly. And I wonder, Jack Wilshere and Ian Wright, I think you lot knew about this move a lot sooner than it was actually, you know, put to the public, if I'm honest. DG, why not in Buemo? I like him, but I just don't think he gets enough numbers. I think he's a player I think Arteta would like. The video with Adidas slaps, it has to slap. It has to. 105 million spent. You need to have a bloody good video, really. And I'm going to